Okay, so I had a slight malfunction there, so this is going to be a two-part video because I don't want to go back and do all of that again. And so we just talked about our authoritarian parents, and now we're going to talk about our permissive parents. Permissive parents don't really have any firm rules. They're pretty lenient. They accept a child as he or she is. They discipline through love, praise, affection. Don't think the child can do any wrong. They just kind of let them do whatever they want. They're very communicative and very nurturing for a child. They act more like a friend than a parent. These are often times where you see like children will be like, oh, it's my best friend, and and it's just there's not a lot of parenting. It's more of a friendship style. The effects that has on the child, though, is that children have a tendency to be very dependent on the children or on the parent, very dependent. There's an insecurity there that the child experiences from a lack of boundaries. And oftentimes when they feel bad about having to put boundaries on their children because it makes their kids unhappy. But in actuality, it makes a child feel more secure when they do have boundaries, when they do have rules, when they have very clear expectations put upon them. But in this case, they don't with permissive parenting. These children are often seen as irresponsible. They lack self-control. They have poor social skills. They're often called immature by teachers and other people. They experience problems with authority. A lot of times these are the kids that get in trouble at school and don't listen to teachers and don't follow teachers' expectations or rules in the classroom, and they find themselves in a lot of trouble. And so school is a big place where there's a lack of motivation and just a lot of times getting in trouble, missing recesses, all of those kinds of things. The third kind of parenting that we're going to talk about is a neglectful parent. The neglectful parent, or like the uninvolved parent. Sorry, I have notes over here, so I couldn't read them. So this parent makes very few demands on their child. They are not very responsive to their child. They're detached pretty much. There's not a lot of emotional attachment happening, but they will fulfill their child's basic needs. They'll feed them. They will get them to school. They will make sure they can have what they need, but other than that, they emotionally don't have a lot to give to their children. Not a lot of communication or feedback for their children. And they really don't know their child's friends or teachers. They don't really know much about what's going on in their child's life at all. The impact that this has on the child then is that the child often feels neglected, abandoned. They have low self-esteem, and not really a trust foundation in which to go out and explore the world. And so there's not that safety net that home provides, where it's like, I have this safe place and this nurturing place, and I can go out into the world and I can take risk and I can experience things and I can come back and here's where I'm going to feel secure and be validated, and somebody's going to help me understand what the world is. And that doesn't happen here. They oftentimes lack self-control as well. The fourth kind, which is the healthiest parenting style, hopefully what most of you have experienced, and hopefully if you're a parent someday, this is what you're going for. This produces healthy kids, healthy adults. So you're looking at authoritative. Okay, so the first one we talked about was authoritarian. This is authoritative / democratic. So these parents are very responsive to their children. They're very supportive of their children's decisions. They allow their child to make decisions. They guide and show their kids by example. So they show them right from wrong, and they kind of walk their talk, I guess. They do what they say. They're willing to have conversations with their kids about setting rules and making choices and maybe what consequences should look like. They're very nurturing and forgiving. They do follow through with consequences, but they're very nurturing in the way they do it and very forgiving. They don't make their children feel like they're horrible people. It's, hey, you made a mistake, and the behavior is what we don't like, but we still love you. Not necessarily a lot of punishment, but a lot of learning and a lot of lessons. They want the child to be socially responsible, self-regulated, and cooperative people. They are raising them to be functional, healthy adults. The effects of this parenting style on children are they become good decision makers. They know how to make decisions. They become decisive in life. They have confidence in the decisions they make, even if sometimes they know those decisions are going to be wrong. And we talked about that, I think, a little bit on the discussion boards. I had mentioned to somebody that it's like, be a decisive person. Make decisions sometimes, even if you're going to be wrong, because that's it's just a very functional thing to do. The effects of the parenting style on this child are also that they're very independent, but they do seek help when they need it. They understand when they need help, and they utilize their resources. They're happy, they're capable, they're successful people. What you're going to find is that these different styles then impact a lot of a child's self-esteem, how they make decisions in the world, the kinds of relationships they have with other people, how they behave in other social settings. It has a lot to do with that as they grow up, become teenagers, become adults. I want you guys to think about what impact the parenting style that you grew up with had on you. What was that like? What did it look like? I want you to take this information that we just talked about, and I want you to tell me about it. Tell me about your experience growing up, what your parenting style was like, and how that's affected you now. And the other thing you're going to do then is just go over this universal needs sheet. The reason I put this there is because what happens is that everybody has these needs. Everybody has across the world has needs for autonomy and connection, honesty, meaning, peace, and physical well-being. Everybody has those needs. And when the needs are met, people feel a certain way. And when the needs are not met, people feel another way. The different parenting styles that we just talked about, they fulfill some of these needs and don't fulfill some of the other needs, which leaves people wanting something. We do a lot of the universal needs stuff, like in school with kids. You know, what kind of need does this kid have that's not being met, and what can we do to meet that need so that they're functioning better in the classroom? This can be applied all over the place with just about everybody. The last thing I want to talk about real quick is this ACE questionnaire that I gave you. What you're going to see is there are 10 questions in which you will need to go through and rank if any of these have happened to you, or if any of these have been a part of your life. And I pray that they have not. But what I want you to understand is this is broken up into 3 categories: abuse, neglect, and household dysfunction. And that's what they're looking at, is these 10 different things as being things in a child's life that can be traumatizing. So if you have a 0, you have no exposure to these things, and 10 means you've had exposure to all 10 categories. And so anywhere in between, of course, is just, you know, how adverse, what kinds of things have you had to deal with. The higher your score, then, the greater your risk of experiencing poor physical and mental health and negative social consequences later in life. So it does impact you physically, mentally, socially, oftentimes to have these. But what this doesn't show is that there is no tally of positive experiences in a young person's life that could build resilience and protect a child from the effects of these traumas. So as you know, we know that children can suffer, they can suffer a divorce, and it can be very traumatizing. But if they have some very positive experiences in their lives, they have parents who really build them up, who get along really well, who end up marrying other people that are super fabulous, positive, supportive people in that child's life. There are definitely some factors in there that can offset some of that trauma and really kind of negate some of those things that could happen in the future to them. So I would like you to take this and use this to kind of talk a little bit in your homework for this week about some of this. And so pretty much those are the parenting styles that come up with this lecture. Thank you for listening, and I will see you soon. Thanks. Bye.